Whoa. This is a set of guided notes on the order of operations. You should be using these 3 pages of guided notes in order to follow along. Let's go! The question we need to answer today is, how do you complete math problems that have more than one operation? What a great question! Why is it a great question? Well, take this expression for example. 5 plus 9 times 3. Stu takes a look at this question, and he does 5 plus 9 first. That gives him 14. Next, Stu takes 14, and he multiplies it by 3, and he gets 42. Hey, Mr. Millard, I got 42! Addie is working on the same problem. She does 9 times 3 first, and she gets 27. Then Addie takes her 27 and adds 5 to it. She gets 32. Mr. Millard, I got 32. Hold on to your French toast, students. Are you trying to tell me that we can get 2 answers for this problem? Stu got 42. Addie got 32. They both did correct math. No! We need to answer that age-old question. Who's right? Get out your pencils, students, because we need to take some notes. To solve problems that have more than one operation, we need to use what's called the order of operations, or PEMDAS, which is an acronym that include all the different things that you might find in a long math problem. P stands for parentheses. You want to write that down. Now we know parentheses normally look like this, but really we can have any kind of grouping symbol. You might have brackets that look like this, or you might have some crazy things that look like this. Chicken lips. After we have done operations in parentheses, we complete all exponents. Remember, that's when you have a base and an exponent that stands for a repeated multiplication problem, like 2 to the third, which means multiply 2 by itself 3 times. That would be 8, by the way. After we've done all parentheses and exponents, we're going to turn our eyes to step 3, which is multiplication and division. We do multiplication and division in the very same step, and we start from the left and go to the right, like we're reading a book. After we finish all multiplication and division, we go to step 4, which is complete all addition and subtraction. We also do all of our addition and subtraction operations from left to right. Now you should pause here for a moment and make sure you have all of these notes written down. So our first step is to always make sure that we take care of operations within parentheses. Our second step is to make sure we take care of any exponents that we may find in our expression. The third step is to make sure that we take care of all of our multiplication and division from left to right. Because we are working from left to right, sometimes we will actually do division before multiplication if the division comes first on the left. And the same thing is true for our fourth step. We complete all addition and subtraction from left to right, which means sometimes we might do our subtraction before our addition. So even though there are 6 letters in our acronym PEMDAS, P-E-M-D-A-S, there are really only 4 steps. Let's move on to some examples. Woohoo! In this first example, you can just watch. I want to make sure that you can look at the expression, follow steps 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then properly compute to get the correct answer at the end. So our first step is always look for parentheses. In this problem, there are no parentheses. This means step 1 is done. So now we go to step 2. Step 2 has us looking for exponents. Do you see any? I see one right here, 6 to the second power. This is 6 times 6, which is 36. So I write 36 under 6 squared, and I keep everything else exactly as it was. I'm done with step 2, and I'm ready to go on to step 3. Step 3 is multiplication and division. I have one multiplication, and it is 3 times 5. That's a multiplication fact that we know as 15. So I write 15 under 3 times 5, and then write everything else exactly as it was. Now we are ready for step 4. Step 4 is to complete any addition and subtraction from left to right. We only have one operation left. It's addition. So I'm going to do that addition problem. 15 plus 36. 15 plus 36 is 5 plus 6 is 11. Carry the 1. 1 plus 1 plus 3 is 5. So it looks like 56. So the final answer to this problem is, and we know we have done a great job with our work if we have done one step at a time and can draw this triangle with all of our work fitting inside. And that is what we call super work. Nice job. Now we've got the problem 5 times the quantity 4 plus 8. In other words, 4 plus 8 is in parentheses. So if we go to our order of operations, our first step is parentheses, and we have some parentheses right here. So the first thing we're going to do is 8 plus 4, which is 12. Write everything else exactly as it was. So that step is done. The next step is do any exponents. I don't see any exponents, so that step is done. Next we have to do multiplication and division from left and right. I do have some multiplication, so I'm going to do 5 times 12. 5 times 12 is a multiplication fact that is equal to 60. And then I'm done with that step. And now I do addition and subtraction. Well, we don't have anything left to do, which means my problem is done. Super work! The next problem is to do 24 divided by 3 times 5. So once again, we look for step 1, which is parentheses. I don't see any parentheses, so that's done. Second step, we look for exponents. Don't see any exponents. Done. Next, we look for multiplication and division from left to right, which means we've got to start on the left side where the 24 is and move to the right. And you'll see the first operation that we see is division, which means we are actually going to be doing division before multiplication because they are both in the same step, and this division comes first. So 24 divided by 3 is 8. Write everything else exactly the way it is. We are actually still in step 3 because we've got some multiplication to do. 5 times 8 is 40. And so we've done that step. The fourth step, addition and subtraction, there is no addition and subtraction to do. So we are done. The answer is 40. Super work! The next example is 7 times 2 to the third power. Again, we go to our step 1, which is parentheses. No parentheses here. We go to our second step, which is exponents. Do you see any? I do too, right here. 2 to the third power is basically 2 times 2 times 2. I use dots to show multiplication. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 2 to the third power is 8. Write everything else exactly as it was. Move on to step 3, which is multiplication and division from left to right. I do have a multiplication, one multiplication right here, 7 times 8. That's one of our multiplication facts. 7 times 8 is, you got it, 56. Step 3 is done. There is no step 4 because we have no more operations left. The answer is 56. Nice job. Super work. In the next problem, we've got 2 to the third power plus 8 divided by 4. Step 1, parentheses, there are none. We move right on to step 2. And I hope you see an exponent right here, 2 to the third power. We already saw in a previous problem that 2 to the third power is 8, and then everything else is written exactly as it was. Now we're on to step 3, multiplication and division. And even though the division in this next step is after the addition, we do it first because multiplication and division is the third step, and it always comes before addition and subtraction. And so 8 divided by 4 is 2. Write everything else as it was, and move on to the fourth step because all we have left is addition. The addition problem left is 8 plus 2, which is 10. I've done the fourth step, and I've got my final answer. Super work! Now we want to be careful in this example 5 because we have something very special. We've got this exponent of 2, but it's outside of the parentheses. It's not inside the parentheses, which means when we go to step 1 and do parentheses, we've got to do what's inside these parentheses before we even think about that exponent. And we all know what 4 minus 1 is. That is 3. And then we write everything else exactly as it was. Step 1 is done, and now we go to step 2, exponents. We've got 3 squared, or 3 to the second power, which is 3 times 3. That's going to be 9. Write everything else exactly as it was. The exponent step is done. Now we look for any multiplication and division from left to right. I don't see any. Done. Addition and subtraction. from left to right. We've only got one operation left. It's subtraction. 9 minus 9 is 0. All that work, and we've got nothing at the end? That's okay. 0 is a number just like every other number, and we are going to celebrate it right now. Woohoo! Super work. Well, look at example 6. We've got another example where we've got this exponent outside of parentheses. I wonder if I let you pause right here. Why don't you pause your video and see if you can get this on your own, and then press play and see if you got it right. Ready? Pause. Okay, let's see how you did. Step 1, parentheses. We got to do everything inside the parentheses. So that's 7 plus 3. 7 plus 3 is 10. Going to write everything else exactly as it was. Check. Next step is exponents. Looks like we got 10 to the second power, which is 10 times 10. 10 squared, or 10 times 10, is 100. Everything else exactly as it was. Done. And then multiplication and division from left to right. I've got only one operation left. It's division, so let's do it. 100 divided by 5, or 5 times what is equal to 100? That would be 20. Step 3 is done. Step 4 is done because there's no more operations. You did it. Super work. Example number 7 is the quantity 21 plus 4 divided by 5. That means 21 plus 4 in parentheses divided by 5. Let's see if you can do this one on your own. Pause. Let's see how you did on example 7. Step 1, parentheses. We're going to do what's in those parentheses. 21 plus 4, which is 25. Write everything else as it was and go to step 2, which is exponents. I don't see any exponents. Go to step 3, multiplication and division from left to right. I see a division problem, 25 divided by 5. I know that that's equal to 5. Final step is addition and subtraction. There is none, and so our final answer is 5. Super work. Number 8, looks like we got a doozy on our hands. I'm going to let you pause it and give it a shot. Let's see how you did on example 8. Step 1 says do parentheses. 9 minus 7 is 2. Write everything else exactly the same. Step 1 is done. Let's go on to step 2, exponents. I see 2 to the third power. 2 times 2 times 2. That's 8. Write everything else exactly the same and go on to step 3. Multiplication and division from left to right. I see one multiplication problem. 4 times 2, which is 8. Write everything else exactly the same and move on to the last step. Addition and subtraction, and we've got one addition left to do. 8 plus 8 is equal to 16. Super work. Example 9 is our next to last problem. Whoa, it's a doozy. In parentheses, 15 minus 3 divided by 3 minus 2, close parentheses, and then divided by 2 squared. Pause and give it a shot. All right, step 1, parentheses. Now inside the parentheses, we have to do the order of operations, which means in this case, we've got to do 3 divided by 3 because we always do all division before we do subtraction. 3 divided by 3 is 1. Write everything else exactly as it was. There's still a lot left, but we're still inside those parentheses. We're going to do addition and subtraction from left to right. So the first subtraction we see is 15 minus 1, which is 14, and write everything else as it was. Now we can do the last operation in the parentheses, which is 14 minus 2, which is 12. Write everything else as it was. And we finally got rid of those parentheses, which means we are done with step 1. Oh, that was a big step. Next, we look for exponents. I see 2 squared. 2 squared is 2 times 2, or 4. Write everything as it was. We are done with step 2. Move on to step 3. Multiplication and division from left to right. We've got a division to do. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So we are done with step 3. There is no step 4. Our final answer is 3. Super work. And we are on our last problem, problem number 10. It's 24 divided by 6 plus 6, all in parentheses, divided by 2. Give it a shot. All right, let's see how you did. Step 1 is parentheses, so we've got to do the order of operations inside those parentheses. Division before addition. 24 divided by 6 is 4. Everything else as it was. Next, we've got to finish the parentheses, 4 plus 6, which is 10. everything else as it was. We have finished step 1. We go on to step 2. I do not see any exponents. We go on to step 3. Multiplication and division. I see some division. We'll do 10 divided by 2, which is 5. That ends multiplication and division, step 3. I do not see any addition and subtraction. We are done. Super work. Great job, everyone. Woohoo!